Yes, people, so I am bringing you the update when Roy Whiting was cowering under his bed and another prisoner, Andrew Light, attempted to take his life, or allegedly. And that's what he was on trial for. And I did do a video on this previously, stating that he was up on trial. During the trial, he did plead guilty to Section 18, which was wounding with intent, with a bladed article rather. But obviously the trial went ahead. They were trying to get him done with attempted murder of Roy Whiting. And in the video that I'd done, it was a not proven verdict. So obviously he was getting sentenced for this offence. Andrew Light was already serving a life sentence in HMP Wakefield. Now we'll tell you a little bit more about the details in a minute, what happened, but the sentence that Andrew Light got was life, another life sentence with a minimum of 3 years. Now, when I was talking about this previously and I was talking about what type of sentence he might get, obviously with him already doing a life sentence, any time that they could have put on top, because I did say around about 5-6 years, something of the sort, but it would have been concurrent. But the way they get around it, obviously, if they give him another life sentence with a minimum of 3 years, that already goes on top of his already existing life sentence. So the attack happened last year inside of Monster Mansion. Now, the majority of you will know exactly who Roy Whiting is. A lot of the younger viewers might not necessarily know who he is, but if you have been watching my channel, you will know. Now, Roy Whiting is one of the worst predators in UK history. He kidnapped young Sarah Payne and obviously murdered that poor young lass. So Roy Whiting was sentenced on December the 12th, 2001 to life imprisonment with a minimum of 50 years. But believe it or not, he appealed against the sentence. He actually won the appeal. The appeal was reduced to 40 years imprisonment. He will not be released from prison, so there's no need to worry about that, because that horrible piece of whatever will never be released from prison. So that actually happened in July 2000 when young Sarah Payne was out playing, and that horrible man kidnapped that young girl and took her away, had done whatever, and ended her life. And obviously, as you can imagine, this sick individual has had his prison justice on numerous occasions. So on this assault, which happened last year, which I'm pleased the jury seen sense, and they didn't convict Andrew Light on the attempted murder, which we'll not go into, but you can see what he was trying to do. Andrew Light was put into HMP Wakefield, also known as Monster Mansion, and it is predominantly a beast prison for bacons. Andrew Light isn't a bacon. He was in prison for murder, and I believe it was a flatmate who he murdered. And like I say, normally they put these type of offenders in who are classed as normal offenders in HMP Wakefield with these beasts. And obviously they do not want to be there. And when they come across the likes of Roy Whiting and they're having to live amongst them on the wings, you can understand they want to take out some prison justice. So that's exactly what Mr. Light done. On this day, he went into his pad, shut the door behind him. He had a bladed article and he began stabbing at his head and his neck, and he was giving him a ferocious beating. Whiting was screaming for his life, crying like a little baby, seeing what it was like to be on the receiving end. He was now a victim. And like I've said when I've done them previous videos, hopefully when this was happening, he had flashbacks and he could see what that young girl was going through, what he'd done to her. And this horrible beastie man, this predator, who was under the bed screaming for help. Obviously, the screws have come running down, opened the door, went in, and the attack has come to an end, and Roy Whiting had gotten away with his life. He's lived to, I was going to say he's lived to die another day, but he has lived to get justice another day, because there was another ferocious beating, what he got inside of Wakefield as well, of Gary Vintner. Gary Vintner, who was doing life without parole, stamped all over Roy Whiting, stabbed him up with a toilet brush, a bog brush, sharpened up. I do believe he took his eye out, or he's blind in one eye, of that ferocious attack, which happened inside, which is it is so rightly named Monster Mansion, because it is full of monsters, full of the worst of the worst. A lot of them, obviously you've got the high profile ones like Roy Whiting, but there is a lot of individuals, sickos, just as bad as him in there. Hundreds of them, hundreds of these horrible beasties inside that prison. And a lot of them are getting the prison justice when they get mixed in with other prisoners who are in, or who should be on, a normal location wings. So like I say, he was screaming for his life under that bed, and he was rescued by the screws. The officers came in and saved him. But like I say, the only good thing about saving him is that prison justice will prevail again and again. And like I say, for that attack, what Gary Vintner done, he said he only stopped that attack because he was out of breath. He jumped up and down on Roy Whiting so many times, stabbing him up, then stamping on top of him. He only stopped because he was so out of breath. That's how much he attacked him on that occasion. And he also got another life sentence for that. But that life sentence to someone like Vintner, who's doing life without parole, doesn't do anything, because obviously if you're doing life without parole, what's the point in giving you another 10 or 20 years on top? It's not going to make a shadow of a difference. But obviously offenders like that, the only thing that does happen to them, they either get put on units or they get put down the segregation unit, and they're kept away from the mainstream prisoners, so they can't do any more of these attacks. But I said I would keep you updated on this one, and that's exactly what has happened to Andrew Light. They transferred him straight from HMP Wakefield down to HMP Whitemore, where he will probably feel a lot more settled, because he's no more in a Bacon prison. So I just thought I would bring you that one, people, because I know everyone will find it interesting. And in a sick sort of way, people will be glad to hear that he was under the bed cowering and screaming for his life. Now, I will end the video thinking of poor little Sarah Payne, because that's what it all comes down to. This story wouldn't have happened if he hadn't have done that to that poor little girl. And I remember this vividly when it happened, because I was just a youngster myself. And it was a horrible, horrible crime. So rest in peace to poor little Sarah Payne. But I will be bringing you plenty more videos, people. So do subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss another video. Take care, everyone. Enjoy your week ahead and stay safe.